Hello, this is Mike from Dimensional Walking, and today I want to do revisit, a revisit on Travis Walton. Okay, so when I lived in Arizona and New Mexico, actually, I had befriended him. Okay, and I will tell you how that all happened. So we're going to title this one Travis Walton, a revisit, including my encounter with him and his experience. So back when I was about 25 years ago, I actually, at that point, I was living in Arizona, in Tucson, Arizona, actually. And the area where he was around Snowflake, where the event happened, was around Snowflake, Arizona. And that was about a 3-hour ride from where I lived in Tucson. And you wouldn't think it would be quite that long, but because of the mountain roads, etc., that's how long it about took me to find where he was. So, anyways, I went to Snowflake and drove around the town, and come to find out, I had made a little bit of a contact, and my understanding was he was going to be in town that weekend, and I could probably come and see him at this particular location. This, I think, it was a restaurant. So I went there, but come to find out he was out of town that weekend. So anyway, so I got some information where the location was of the supposed event. And so anyways, I went out there and walked around and basically, it was a really cool wooded area. And I did hear a very low level hum there. And at times, there was a feeling of disorientation. So, but anyways, that was about it. Got back in the car and went back to Tucson, Arizona. So I had to wait another 15 years to meet Travis, and that happened at my UFO forum, or at our UFO forum in Albuquerque that I ran for about 8 years. And so, anyway, so we had this kind of experience together with the people at the forum, and we probably had, oh, I think at that time we actually blew the walls off the capacity, and actually got into quite a bit of trouble with fire marshals. But anyways, it was a very robust attendance for sure, to say the least. And he actually had come back. I think there was at least two other times he came back. Once more when I was there, and I think once more when the next gentleman ran the forum there. So I think he was there actually three times. So, anyways, it was quite an amazing time every time. So so he was quick to point out that the movie was not 100% accurate, although the general path, and we're talking about Fire in the Sky now, although the general path of the film was close to reality. The movie didn't express the profound burden you could feel. Okay, there was this real burden on him that you could feel because I was kind of sitting in the back and I was watching the trailer and I was watching him and sometimes through the trailer uh, he actually put his head down and actually almost looked like he was crying at a few times. Uh, anyways, so he did the trailer, so that gave you a really good idea of what was going on, and then he did his presentation. And so the part of the presentation I enjoyed the most was the part that described his feelings when he was in the presence of the aliens. Okay, his description of deep staring made it feel like a deep visual probe into his mind's eye, even into his soul. So that I thought was absolutely profound. So this is a common theme that I had found when I worked with abductees in my past, which I worked with, golly, well over 1,500 abductees and contactees in the past, and they gave me some of the same story that Travis did actually. Uh, Another trait that I heard over and over again was the fear factor, and he talked about that too, which it seemed like it could be turned on and off suddenly. You could go from really feeling cool and great and nothing bothering you, etc. and then you could all of a sudden you'd have this super overwhelming, hot. I guess he called it like hot, red hot fear. Okay, is what he called it. So, anyways, yes, that I've heard that before too. The aliens seem to know the inner self, our deepest mind, and they can control it. Obviously, they can control it, giving us pleasure or great terror. According to Travis, there was a major effort to debunk, of course, and you probably have heard that, to debunk his own testimony and the testimony of and the experiences of his crew. It was a constant, they had a constant problem because they had to constantly push to explain away their experience, basically. When I say explain away, not explain it away, but actually just explain what all happened because there was always such tremendous skepticism. So his feelings was this experience may have been too much, too threatening to the powers to let it run wild through the streets of the world. I guess he's talking mainly when it first came out. The governments would have to explain away too much, and the people would see that the emperor had no clothes. This is from Travis. Did our governments allow this to happen to their people? That was the question. How could this happen to our people, right? The real question is, did they trade us humans for alien technology, or for our governments were unable to, or were our governments unable to stop the abductions? That's always been the question. And obviously, I think they were unable to stop, and they still are unable, which they still go on today. Maybe not as much as they used to, which is a good thing, I guess. So they helped cover them up. So that's what they did. The government all along helped cover them up. So Travis Walton's UFO abduction story was recounted in the book, in a couple books actually. There was one called, and I don't even think I read this one, called The Walton Experience, and later, of course, it was Fire in the Sky, which I did see the movie and watch read the book, and of course, I met Travis, etc. So it was mixed. It was met this his whole story and his background and everything was met with this skepticism, frustration, and enduring intrigue. And this is from the general population I'm talking about now. The public perception has shifted somewhat over the decades, influencing by the involvement of cultural attitudes towards UFOs and the strength of the evidence presented and the personalities involved. So it has evolved since the Travis experience, this whole thing about abductions and sort of the government's semi disclosure, little bit, whatever you want to call it. It has evolved, and I think people looking at the Travis Walton experience are starting to believe in Travis Walton somewhat, okay, more than ever before. Initially, the Walton story, which involves him allegedly being abducted by a UFO in 1975 in Arizona, was met with this skepticism, segments of the population. Of course, the lack of physical evidence, coupled with the nature of the account, made it an easy target for ridicule. And that made sense to some degree. The initial investigation by police focused on the possibility that Walton's fellow loggers had harmed him. So they thought, obviously, if you don't know the story, the police thought that his group had done something to him, put him somewheres, and who knows what, maybe drugged him or something, who knows. Uh, but the theory, even by, obviously by Travis, was completely denied. He said that was impossible. So this suspicion about, the whatever the crew did to him was ultimately unsubstantiated and contributed to the initial negative perception of the event. So initially that disinformation, let's put it, that's what it was, truly, and that could have been from the government, um, about the event, actually caused a negative perception. However, this story also garnered significant attention from UFO enthusiasts, including myself, and researchers, including myself. So, detailed accounts provided by Walton and his loggers and their consistency over time. That was the important thing. There was this great deal of consistency over time. Plus, they did take polygraph tests. Um, Although, people will debate the accuracy, the importance of polygraph tests, but they did take them and they all passed them, okay, for what that was worth. For many within the UFO community, the Walton incident was a key piece of evidence supporting the reality of alien abductions. The timing of the incident occurring during a period of growing interest in UFOs further fueled the fascination. So, the release of Fire in the Sky in 1993 brought Walton's story to a much wider audience. While the film took some liberties on the actual events, and that's basically what Travis told us in our meeting, it effectively conveyed the fear and confusion experienced by Walton and his colleagues. Yes, yes. I don't think, personally, watching the movie, talking to Travis, I don't think it got really, and I don't think it probably could have, to be honest with you. I think you have to talk to the person in person. I think you got to see his reactions, like when he's watching the movie, like we had the opportunity to, and then you really get it. Okay, then you really get it. The film's popularity introduced the story to a new generation, arguably contributed to a more better public perception. While some viewers remained skeptical, others found the film compelling and were even more open to the possibilities. Walton's experience was genuine. Yeah, I agree. The movie also sparked renewed interest in the case, prompting further investigation and discussion. Yes, from the movie, several years later, it was a hot topic. It really was a hot topic. Debated a lot, no doubt about it. It was debated a lot, but it became a hot topic. And it's faded, but at the same time, it's still there. I mean, most people do know what Fire in the Sky is, and most people know who Travis Walton is. Now, when I say most people, I would say maybe our newest generation, a generation that came to maturity in the last 20, 25 years, probably would have to look it up. But they were good at Googling and they could find all the information they wanted. So over the years, public opinion has continued to evolve in the increasing mainstream acceptance of the possibility of extraterrestrial life, driven in part by scientific discoveries and other disclosures, which seem to be slowly trickling and happening right now. While the staunch skepticism remains, there is a growing segment of the public that is more open to considering the possibility of UFO encounters and alien abductions. Okay? So, in conclusion, public perception of Travis Walton's story has been a complex and evolving process. The initial skepticism and ridicule of the enduring fascination and more nuanced understanding. The story has captured the public's imagination for decades, and that is absolutely true. Probably no single abduction story, okay, has captured the public. No, it was a movie. No. I will have to tell you because I know Whitley Strieber. I knew of him. When I say I knew of him, I lost contact with him. Uh, he had some pretty amazing, profound things about UFOs, and they did a movie obviously after him too. While the uh, definitive proof remains elusive, the Walton case continues to be debated and discussed, serving a reminder of the enduring mystery surrounding UFOs and the possibility of contact with aliens. So, one last thing I want to say to Travis. Thank you for being a courageous individual. It's a lonely job, well, which seems to never end. Yes, his life from that point, when those aliens took him, many, many years ago now, to this day, has totally changed his life. I mean, he eventually just had to make it part of his life and go and talk about it and hopefully help some people. And I think he has. So, anyways, thank you, Travis. We'll see you. Bye bye.